Hello, everybody. Good evening. Welcome to the Boss Rush Podcast. I am your host, LeRon Dawkins. Stephanie and Corey have the night off, but I have a friend here with me tonight. Say
Yee.
hello, the one and only, the enlightened and ever excited Eddie V.
Yo, it's so good to be here with you guys. Hello, Laron. What's
Hel-
up?
Hello, but hold on. Corey will be very upset if I don't do my signature. What's poppin'?
Yes. Ah,
How's it going, man?
it is going fantastic. Crazy things are happening at work, but we are in the midst of a lot of great games. Um, Still trying to recover from that state of play, which was so good. Just like man, literally getting ready for E3 in the next coming months because that's the big thing with all the news that's going on. Man, just feeling good and hyped, dude. Just like very energetic and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And
Are you
plus,
are you are you excited for E3?
I actually am. Yes, I am.
Can I
I,
can I admit something to you? I'm not that excited for E3.
why not?
I feel like E3's lost its magic over the years. I feel like it has. Now now that we're in the age of the internet and stuff,
Uh
and, companies have the ability to get this stuff out to us faster and not have us wait for like all the fanfare and stuff. Through a show and stuff. I just
yes,
feel like, and also E3 has kind of been one of the E3's been on decline for a while. Like I'm not sure if it's because like the ESA, you know, is just not on point anymore, or if there's just not enough enthusiasm, for things like that anymore, or like I think E3 was like the shit back when it was like an exclusive thing, like
yes,
press and like select people, but now E3 is one of these things where it's damn near open to the whole fucking public now. Um but then they've got stuff that's shrouded to where like only press can get into and things like that. So that's my thing about it. Last year's E3 was pretty nice though. Like
yes.
I tuned in for all, what was it, 2.5 3 days? How many days was it?
It's
I feel like
3 days.
it was three
So,
days. It started on a what? It started on a Thursday night.
Sunday, Sunday.
It started on Sunday and went through the week.
It started, yeah, it went started off Sunday, ended on Tuesday. We're not looking at Jeff Keighley stuff. Sunday was Microsoft, and I think Ubisoft was that night.
Mm-hmm.
um Monday must have been Ubisoft and Square Enix.
Mm-hmm.
Or One of those, they were between Monday and Sunday and Monday, because Nintendo was on Tuesday, and then if anybody wanted to tune in, Nintendo was doing Treehouse at their place, and we're streaming it there for people to check out because they were showing like Metroid Dread and some of the other games that they were showing. So it was kind of a strong E3 because of all the games that were announced and all the trailers and everything. And you guys could go to our YouTube page and check out all the content and everything. You and Corey did a fantastic job, Laurent, covering that with the
Oh,
discussions.
well, thanks. Thank you.
Um, but it was very exciting because we got games from Microsoft. We got a lot of games from everybody felt like Nintendo saved the day because looking at, we got Metroid Dread, we got Advance Wars, B Boot Camp 1 and 2, two Smash characters. Like they were just hitting points by points with the Nintendo one, and it was just like good
Nintendo
40s.
Nintendo had a really nice presentation. I want to say second place to that was the PC extravaganza part.
Which I still need to rewatch, like
Oh
because
my
I
god.
I got like halfway through and I must have fell asleep. I think I was just tired, but
Honestly,
uh,
honestly, I feel like the PC one basically did a better job of showing everybody what's coming to all the platforms than
yes,
the individual like developers and publishers did. Because
yes.
Ubisoft, what were they thinking? They showed us Beyond Good and Evil again, and we ain't heard shit else from it.
I don't think we're going. Well, I know Ubisoft is going to be one that people are going to look for, and I think people want to like jump on Ubisoft. They want to crap on it and everything, and I think if Ubisoft would just show more interesting ideas and some gameplay with it, I think people will go for it because people were. I think when they first showed off Mario and Rabbids and they showed that Miyamoto came up, and even with the Donkey Kong one and Starlink with Fox from Star Fox came in, you see the enthusiasm and the happiness that people were hyped about. But then you start showing Ghost Recon, you start showing some of Far Cry, and it's just like we know
Well,
about this. Oh, go ahead.
let me ask you this: when is the last time Ubisoft has actually put a brand new IP out in front of us? So the last one was what? Phoenix, Immortals.
Phoenix, yeah,
Yeah,
Immortal
yeah,
Phoenix Rising, I think.
yeah.
Yeah,
Like I mean, and yeah, like that was kind of like a breath of fresh air for a lot of people. Like a lot of people said they played it, they loved it. It was something different, from the company.
yeah, but it was still I think open worldness to it with all the side quests more than a story and everything.
Even though I do admit when they were first showing it off like a couple years back, like it looked like it was just a straight rip off of Breath of the Wild.
Oh yeah, yeah. Uh, which is kind of discussion question that I think me and Corey have, and I think I come to ask you this question when we get later on into the show for the topic.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, I think this is because this is the thing. I think they're going to show our Prince of Persia, and people are more.
That is I think that's a sure bet because like
Mhm.
everybody was highly disappointed with the reveal. Um, when they did the reveal, was the reveal last spring or what? Yeah, it was in the spring. It wasn't summer, but
Yeah,
everyone was very disappointed, and like they wound up having like board of directors meetings and all that stuff. Like okay, we're gonna do something better, and stuff like that. I'll be honest with you, like I did like what I saw, but at the same time, I was like, man, y'all could have just put this out. Y'all could have just re-released this on PS3 or something.
well, yeah, because it still looked like it had the GameCube and PS2 and Xbox graphics to it, so it
Yeah,
didn't really look interesting. And I understand you guys are trying to go for a remaster, but I think right now for the Prince of Persia Sense of Time, I think you guys need a complete a remake of this, because I think it was it was a game definitely when it came out on GameCube. And I don't know if you was working at GameStop at that time, but it was just like if you
I
bought,
was.
I think if you bought like Prince of Persia, you got one of the top what is the uh goodness, the stealth game.
Winter Cell.
Splinter Cell. So if you bought Prince of Persia, you got Splinter Cell for free at GameStop. And I think it was the GameCube version that people were getting it for free. So if you bought Prince of Persia for GameCube, you got Splinter Cell for free. Because that's what happened with me. I
Hmm.
ended up getting Splinter Cell for free, and I didn't even play it. I think I ended up turning it in for something else, because I love Prince of Persia. I think I still have my original copy of that game.
Mhm,
It's such a great game, and it was so innovative because it was like that rewind feature was
mhm,
so good. And now you kind of see it in games, like even Nintendo with the NES Online, the Super Nintendo, with even expansion pass, that rewind feature to uh redo your mistakes that you make, so you can
yeah,
like kind of correct them. It's still a feature from kind of that game in a
yeah,
sense. And
yeah. It was truly innovative when Prince of Persia came out. I can't say they did a lot. They did anything real with Warrior Within and what was the other one?
oh goodness, I know it's a trilogy. um
Yeah, I can't remember the third. I can't remember the title for the third game.
yeah.
Um, and like, was it Warrior Within the second one? Like that one was so horribly translated and done. Like the voice, like the syncing of the voices were off and everything.
um
I couldn't even finish the game. Like so it was so ramshackle.
So this is the thing with the Prince of Persia with me. So I got the first game on GameCube, and I had to get the other two on Xbox because you could not find the GameCube versions of those other two of the sequels.
Oh yeah, I
Uh,
heard. Yeah, I did hear that that there was low publication of the GameCube ones.
yeah, and I wonder why, because people did enjoy it on GameCube. Like I said, I played it on GameCube. The Two Thrones is the third one.
Two Thrones. Okay, there you
Yeah.
go.
So I was weird. It was kind of weird to see that the low like they didn't make enough copies for a GameCube because people who owned the GameCube were getting all the games that they could get on that system. So when it
Mhm.
came to Prince of Persia, when I went to GameStop, I was looking for the GameCube version because to me my PS2 was more of my RPG system and my Xbox was like my used game system.
Uh-huh.
But like my GameCube was just like first and third party, like first day sales on getting those games with some used games and stuff.
Yeah.
Um, I just couldn't find it. So when I got it on Xbox, I had to get the second and third one used because it was so weird not being able to find that.
Mhm. Yeah, so hopefully like Ubisoft will have like a freaking stellar showing with with the Prince of Persia remake if they decide that E3 is the time to bring it back out and whatnot and stuff
Mhm.
like that. It's just every company kind of has like they have their freaking it's hard to, they have their game that's basically like their walk of shame, and right now, Prince of Persia definitely is the walk of shame game for Ubisoft, just like Cyberpunk is the walk of shame game for CD Projekt,
Well,
and Mass
well,
Effect Andromeda is the walk of shame game. Well, I don't know, like actually, BioWare has been effing up for a while.
well, I mean, if we was looking at Walk of Shames for stuff, wouldn't Ubisoft conference with that one man with the glasses doing the doo 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 doo? Wouldn't that be like the Walk of Shame of Ubi? You didn't see that one?
I know
It was before
was
I. It was before.
Was Aisha Tyler the host of that one?
No. So she became the host of it after him because he
Okay,
became like a meme and everything, and people were making fun of the Ubisoft press conference because he was doing well, doo 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 doo, and he had like on this blue jean shirt, like he was
I don't remember that. Thank
oh
God,
wow, yeah,
thank God.
it was a big thing at E3 because everybody was wondering what the world was going on. Like people get on Nintendo for the Wii Music stuff, and but and with Reggie's catchphrases, but people keep saying the catchphrases like in a good thing. That Ubisoft one, people were making fun of it all along because they were just like, "What are you doing?" And it was a different time for E3 for people being able to watch it and
Mhm.
everything. Now if we're talking about games and everything, what you said is correct.
Yeah,
I
yeah, yeah,
welcome
yeah.
and I think for BioWare, I would kind of say maybe
It's either Anthem or it's Mass Effect Andromeda. Like,
well
well, even when the Dragon Age games, yeah, it's
so I would
kind of sus.
so I would say it was kind of it's Anthem or it's the Sonic the Hedgehog game that they did on the DS.
Bioware did that.
Yeah, BioWare
I,
did
di-
that.
I
Yes.
didn't even think about that.
Now at that time, BioWare wasn't brought by EA yet. They were still independent, so they was doing the game for Sega for DS. And it's not a bad game, but it was just like doing Sonic in a turn-based system with BioWare leading it. Just didn't work. It just didn't work well. Um, and I think Anthem has its faults and everything because of the in-game content, but I think the shooting and the flying saves that game and everything. Uh,
Uh,
and for them to, for that being their first game, getting this experience, I can understand people getting mad at them, but I'm just like, give them some props. Yes, they had server issues. They're just they had problems with that game, but at least Bioware was man enough to take the task on at least trying something new, and I
yeah,
give them more props to that. I think as gamers, we want to see companies do something new, or if they're going to borrow something, improve upon it and make it something that we are going to really have a discussion and see if that discussion uh help push the medium forward and the industry forward and everything.
yeah, for real, yeah. You know what? I don't mind when companies like kind of repeat like stuff that other games have done and stuff like that.
Mhm.
As long as they can keep it fresh and fun, I don't really care. What I do hate is when like everybody's like Xeroxing like the same game.
Yeah.
Like it's like It's like, oh, this game plays like this. Wait, didn't I just play this game last week? Oh, wait, I played this game 2 years ago. What's going? Stuff like that. Yeah.
Yes,
Um,
as we all look at EA and the FIFA games on Nintendo Switch.
that's kind of a what that's its own different thing right there, and I'm not trying to like justify it for them or whatnot because they know damn well
What they're
they
doing.
yeah you done messed up EA. Yeah, but yeah, like I I will keep my eye on E3. I'm not really excited, And also, they were kind of doing the hokey pokey. Are we gonna have an event? I don't think we're gonna have an event. We might have an event. Yeah, we're gonna have an event. No, we might not have an event. Like I like that. That makes me really fatigued.
Well, I think when because I was talking to somebody on Twitter about E3, I'm like, yeah, they're still having it, but I think they're just going to do the digital showcase parts that people are going to see. But the in game, like the in person thing, that part I don't think they're going to have until
Yeah,
next year, which is completely fine because I think people who are looking at E3 in this modern light need to kind of go back and kind of see the history of E3, how it used to be CES, and then
mhm,
how it turned into this big event, and that was the moneymaker for EGM and GamePro. Like it was the August issue that everybody was buying, and you was just seeing all the games that were announced and all the reporting. Even Game Informer was doing this, everything that was being announced and reported, but then you also got to see the costumes and the cosplay and the engagement and
yeah,
that they were doing with people who actually were attending. So E3 was a very big event,
yeah,
and it was a way to be able to see these games, do pictures, and until stuff started changing with that, and when the ESRB started changing it, and they was making it press because that one year that they was in California, they had to take a bus down the street or something to catch an appointment, and it was just too much quite chaos with the
mhm,
transportation with it.
mhm,
So when they went online and started having it, I think at Microsoft's, or they started having it at some kind of building, the state, I think the State Center or something like that.
uh,
Uh, Wherever building that they was having it at, it kind of felt like a little bit of the old ones, but it was more relaxing because of it was more press and not many uh outsiders coming in, coming in and interrupting and getting their greedy hands on stuff and asking questions and running around. Like it was just less confusing with that. So I think that's
yeah.
why people now who point at E3 and laugh at it, it's just like, well, we're gonna go to PAX and stuff, and PAX is better. I'm just like, PAX may be better, but I think we still make content for E3. We're still making predictions at E3. We're still getting hyped and saying who won, and not not arguing but discussing. We kind of like getting gear, making snacks, having a community all watch it and discussing what they like and they didn't like, and how sometimes when you see something, when the game actually comes out, it changes and the reviews and everything. We still are involved in E3. We're not so involved with PAX or anything because PAX is good for people who go there, but it's only for those who go there. No one talks about PAX during the week. No one starts predicting what the panels are going to be about, and no one comes away
Now,
with
why
it.
is that? Why do you think that is, though?
I think it's because it's not. I think it's because it's a lot of people don't know really what PAX is, and it's just like those who go there get to understand it every year, every time they go. Outsiders who haven't been to PAX, they're just like, I don't know what this is all about. Like, is this a video game conference, or is this about nerd culture, or is it about comics and stuff? Like, what is it? What is the main focus of PAX? Like, we
Yeah.
know the focus of E3, we don't know the focus of PAX.
Mhm.
I think if they streamline PAX like it was for E3, I think we would get a better understanding of, man, I wish I was there. But I still to this very day don't understand PAX of what its
Have you ever
focus
have you
is.
ever been to have you ever been to
I I haven't been to
a
PAX,
PAX
no.
conference? Okay, yeah, because I haven't been to one either. I do want to go to one. Hopefully, I'll get to go to one like in the in the next coming years or so. Like
Yeah.
yeah, like I would like to experience it once, but I haven't been there, and I really can't speak for like like for like what PAX is and what it does.
Mhm.
I know they do showcase like games and and nerd entertainment stuff and things like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's about the long and the short of it for me as far as that goes.
Right. And I think, and I know we're about to move on. I think that's the thing with E3. E3 has a history to it, and we could talk about games from different E3s, and we could talk about historical moments from E3s, trailers, interviews. Still to this day, seeing that man cry when I go back to Mario Rabbids because it was a moment to see a developer on TV on stream crying because Miyamoto gave him praise. And then it became something that nobody wanted to one of the best games on Switch that people are talking about. And still when even the developer and the creator of XCOM is talking about it, it's wild. The thing that and me and Corey was talking about this with Wind Waker that people hated Wind Waker not HD Wind Waker when they showed the graphics. They didn't
Yeah,
like the cartoon
yeah.
thing, and it now look how
It was too much of a dramatic takeaway from the series. Like like
yeah
you had Ocarina of Time and you had Majora's Mask. Like Wind Waker was something that nobody was ready. And then they had a re release of Link to the Past.
yeah
And yeah, re-release of Link to the Past. Then on GameCube, they had the next one was like Four Swords Adventures, which is basically like a successor to like Link to the Past. So people were convinced we were going to get a new Zelda in the classic style, or we are going to get a new Zelda that was like in Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask style. And so when Wind Waker came out, everybody was like, "What the hell?" you know
right
and like it was something like it was like being slapped in the face with a wet fish, because because people literally were like, nobody liked the art style, nobody liked the art style, no one liked the from the initial like reveals and stuff, nobody liked the art
yes
style, nobody liked the narrative style, nobody was feeling the combat, even though I feel like the combat is the one thing. I thought the combat I feel like Zelda games in now are basically just evolved versions of the combat from Wind Waker.
yeah
Yeah. So that just people weren't ready for it. It's just like how people had a hard time adapting to Metal Gear Solid 3 after playing Metal Gear Solid and Metal Gear Solid 2.
yes
People had hard. I had a hard time to adapt to it. I was like, damn, this is. It wasn't open world, but like it had what felt like open world, and I was like, man, like I am not. I still never got used to controlling Solid Snake out there and just like like a flat ass map, with 360. I never got used to it, and so yeah, I do understand. Like even I was like, ooh, this is the new Zelda game, and then like my roommate at the time, he was the only one that was in the house because I lived with two other people at the time. He was the only
yeah
person in the house that was even interested in. I had the GameCube though, so he just went out and bought the game. One day I come home from work and I see him playing Wind Waker, and I was like, "Did you buy that?" And he's like, "Yeah, I really want to play it." I was like, "Okay, enjoy yourself." And then I want to say like maybe an hour or so later, I came back out into the living room I was trying to like get to the kitchen, so I crossed the living room and I saw him doing something. I kind of like sat down and just watched him play it, and I was like, "Oh, this is kind of cool." It's like those TikToks. Do I like this? Am I into this?
yeah and the funny thing about Wind Waker is that from people who hate it, they turned their love around about it. It became
Yeah,
game of the year, and look how still from ever since its release, it doesn't get it may get some hate still, but it's little to none
yeah.
that I know. Like the Zelda delay. What was the first thing everybody said? Wind Waker and Twilight Princess, because people didn't like Twilight Princess neither, and it was the game that everybody wanted and did
I'm
not
telling
like
you,
it. And
I'm
this,
telling you right now, if Nintendo drops those on the Switch, I'll buy both of them. Both of them. I will get them both. I've never played Twilight Princess. It's the one. It's the one.
ooh,
It's the one Zelda game that I want to play, but never got a chance to play. Because Skyward Sword, I'm not into that. I I was never into it when it was new back in the day. Like,
mm,
but I will definitely play Twilight Princess. And I know for sure I will play like a remaster of
Wind Waker HD.
Wind Waker. Thank you.
Like and
Especially if it's based off the DS one, because the DS one cut like 3/4 of the whole like being in the boat thing out.
oh, the Spirit Tracks.
Yeah.
No, yeah, no,
No.
not Spirit Tracks.
Just being in the boat.
Right, there was a different one after Wind Waker that was on DS. I know what you're talking about.
I never played. I mean, I didn't play a lot of the portable ones. I never played a lot of them.
But could you explain Monster Hunter Portable on
Well, there was that. You know, like as a matter of fact, the last Zelda game, was the last new Zelda game was Between Two Worlds. That was,
Okay. Oh, that was so good.
yeah, it
Such a
was.
good
It
yeah.
was, and before that was Minish Cap, because like I love the traditional Zelda style. So you know, like the Minish Cap was a no brainer for me.
Did you no, you haven't played Breath of the Wild, right? You don't own it, right?
I have Breath of the Wild, but I haven't played it yet.
You haven't played it. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was Wind Waker. It's that game still get praised. I still to this very day love some of the bosses with it. It's very comedic but very thoughtful and everything. Like I still love bowling the ghost into the spikes and then smacking them. That's the thing about that combat. It really feels like a hard smack with a master sword, and it's just like good. And it feels like it's a musical chair kind of thing in a sense, because when you smack them, they make musical notes
No.
with it, and it's just so good and it's so classic. Definitely when Link's Awakening was coming out, the remake, people had their kids playing Wind Waker HD
Mm, mm.
or Wind Waker on GameCube, and it was their first Legend of Zelda game. And it's amazing to see how the displeasure of that game at E3 to the critical praise that that game gets now from not only the Zelda community but gamers in general in a sense. And I think
Yeah.
it's one of those things that you need to just sit down and play, because still to this day, if we're going to talk about cell shading games, we're going to talk about Jet Set Radio. Like without a shadow of a doubt, because that is the birth of cell shading in games. And Sega and I forgot who developed it. They
Uh,
deserve,
wait. I don't. That wasn't the first cell shading game.
yeah,
That
because it
was
was
that was the one. That was the one that basically put them. That was the one that basically put cell shading in the spotlight, though.
well, the reason why I say it is because it was the Dreamcast. Because the Simpsons games didn't do it or anything, but I remember when it came to cell shading and people making that term, it was Jet Set Radio.
Oh, you know what? You know what? You might be right. Um, According to this, like Okua.com says the first game to ever use cell shading as an art style was Jet Set Radio.
Right?
But
Because every
I could have sworn I saw it. I could have sworn, but you know what? Dreamcast had the power to do that.
yes, because when Wind Waker came out, everybody was calling it Zelda, Celda,
Hmm.
because it was cell shaded, but it did cell shading. It did it in a cleaner way, in a different style, and those two are highly regarded when it comes to cell shading. You know,
Hmm.
when you look at 13, that was on PS2. Um, when you look at I think there was a Simpsons games that did cell shading. I think it was like that Crazy Taxi one inspired Simpson game. But I think when you like look at cell shading now, like it's a little bit cleaner and a little bit appealing than it was in the past. But those two games, like if we talk about that art style and that graphic, is Jet Set Radio. And still to this day, it gets the praise. Now, like I said, if they drop it on every platform, it's going to sell. That game
Yeah,
is going to sell. Like, of course, everybody wanted for Switch for physical, but seeing a PS5 or a Series X version of this game would look crazy. But everybody would be like, "Oh,
I
cool."
think I think they're gonna wait to see how the game that's I can't remember the name of the game, but it's like the spiritual successor to Jet Set Radio because it has like the same music team.
That indie game,
Yeah,
yeah, I'm looking forward to that one too.
I think they're waiting to see like how that does, and
Yeah,
then we might see. Honestly, you know what? I have Jet Set Radio like you know like I got basically every version that came out. So you know I want that damn Jet Set Radio future.
yeah. So
That's what I want. That's what I want. Just let me have that. please.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'm excited for E3. Sorry.
That's good.
Uh,
That's good. Well, for everybody out there that's listening right now, this is the Boss Rush Podcast, the premier flagship show for the Boss Rush Network. Thank you for listening. Everything, you know what to do. Just head over to bossrush.net, check out how things are going over there, and see what we have to talk about. There's a lot to discuss. Ed, you have a topic
yes.
for me tonight.
Yes, I do. So I mentioned earlier about Nintendo. Um and me and Corey kind of had the discussion, and I kind of want to hear from you, LeRon.
Okay.
When games are getting reviewed, there's always a comparison to a Nintendo game.
Mm.
Um, whether it's another first party or it's a third party game, a lot of games get compared to Nintendo. So I kind of want to ask you: do you think it's fair that games, when it comes to comparison, even using reviews, that people straight go to Nintendo and nothing else, even though there's other games that have sold bigger than Nintendo?
I
The reference always start with their games, or always go
I
to
I
their game.
don't quite follow. I don't quite follow.
So when we was talking about so when, of course, people who read the Elder Ring review, they all
Mhm.
went to Breath of the Wild. And
Why would they
uh
do that though? That makes zero sense.
they did it because of how popular Breath of the Wild was, and how it kind of changed open worlds. And just a lot of reviewers were using that template because it was an easier reference that people could get and
You know
stuff.
what? You know what? I'm gonna sound really mean right now when I say this, but I think reviewers don't get out and play enough video games, because I look at Elden Ring and I don't see any type of correlation to Breath of the Wild. Now it's funny because every time I see something on Elden Ring, every time I see something, especially those boss fights, first thing I'm thinking is like, "Damn, is this Monster Hunter?" And I'm like, "Wait, no, that's not Monster Hunter." Like I think that's kind of interesting. You're telling me that reviewers are doing comparisons to Elden Ring and they throw Breath of the Wild out there?
Yeah. If you look at some of the
Wow.
reviews, they compare it to Breath of the Wild. If you
I
look
would I would say I would say tell me one right now on the stream, but I don't on the podcast. But I don't want us to target anybody specifically because
right,
you know how toxic internet culture is. Like we throw a name out there and tell people where they go, and all of a sudden like they're getting downvotes and stuff. So
right.
but
Well,
that's wild though because
so yeah,
in all seriousness, like when I write reviews and stuff, I never unless I know for sure a game is like absolutely copying another game. That's the
mhm,
only time I'll make a comparison to another game. Like for example, like Immortals Phoenix Rising. I haven't played that game. I have not played that game. So but if I played it and I found enough similarities to where like it did feel like Breath of the Wild, I would say something about that.
but
Just like
even the trailer for that game, like we were talking earlier, they compared it to Breath of the Wild, and it was just, and I think it was just like when there's an open world game, I think Breath of the Wild gets compared to it because on how truly open
But
it
why
is.
Breath of the Wild though? I
Because
mean,
I think it's because it's more
that's not the game that set the pinnacle for open
it's
world
well,
games.
the thing about it, it's not about setting the pinnacle of open world games. I think it's just because of how popular Breath of the Wild is, and how it people feel like it changed the I don't what has changed the genre, because what Grand Theft Auto was doing with open world, Breath of the Wild has taken that idea and just elevated to a higher standard where Grand Theft Auto cannot even be on that same level on Breath of the Wild. You know, because when you play Breath of the Wild, I think it's there are points that you could go and get, but it's a scientific open world game. You find a way, and you play around with physics, and you still see that people are trying to break the game and stuff on how do we get to this area by doing this kind of trick, and the game allows you to do that. I think because of that open worldness to it, and that free flowing, that you're not in a hurry to get anything. Nothing's timing you. There's no mission. There's missions in it, but it's up to you on how you want to handle that mission, or if you want to go there. It's just so free for me, and it doesn't hold your hand, that people were just like, there's no other game that's like this,
Mhm.
you know.
My brain's still kind of broken that people are comparing Elden Ring, Breath of the Wild.
Well,
My brain's still kind of broken. I'm like, shouldn't you be comparing Elden Ring to like Dragon's Dogma? You know?
right. Well, yeah. Well, because the thing about it, even with when Tactics games come on, a lot of people don't go to Final Fantasy Tactics anymore. People go to Fire Emblem. Like that has become the strategy game of, I guess, this generation that people go to and talk about. Like,
Uh-huh.
and I think it's because not a lot of people remember Final Fantasy Tactics or played it, but when they look at a Tactics game, strategy game, Fire Emblem always comes up to it. And
Mhm.
I think it's because of the popularity of Fire Emblem Awakening and the present games that follow after it.
Mhm.
You know, when we talk about platformers, everybody now, if you don't go to Crash Bandicoot or Spiral, you go to Super Mario 64 or Super Mario Sunshine or Galaxy and stuff. You go to those kind of 3D games. If we're talking about party games, Mario Party comes up first. If we're talking about arcade
Okay,
racing,
see, now I can understand the Mario Party thing because
yeah.
I think Mario Party is like the only game in town. If I'm being honest.
Well, if and even if we think of arcade racers and stuff, Mario Kart comes up. You know, and I'm not talking about arcade racers like Forza Horizon or like that kind of it's still
Yeah,
a simulation
you're
game.
talking about kart racing games. Yeah, I
Yeah,
get you. I get you.
yeah. You know, like even when Blur was trying to humiliate Mario Kart and Mario Kart
Well,
dominated Blur.
that was their own damn fault.
Yeah. You know, it's just like when we think of adventure games, uh we we mentioned Symphony of the Night, but it's still Metroid to this very day.
Mm.
It's still Metroid. I think the only game that doesn't get compared is Metroid Prime when it comes to first person shooters, because at a point in time it was Halo being the game that everybody was comparing for first person shooters. Now it's kind of like a uh Call of Duty kind of way, but like Metro Prime did something different. Like it was a first person adventure, not a first person shooter, because of the way that the controls were, and that it was just this world that you was in. It wasn't nothing level based like those other games were, you know. But it's kind of funny. Like I think there's little games that get compared to non Nintendo. Like Final Fantasy, sometimes Final Fantasy games get compared, but you know we still talking about New Game Plus, so Chrono Trigger, so that might come in. Uh, People might use Dragon Quest for some of the games. Um, Maybe Gears of War now, but that was really Resident Evil 4 that inspired Gears of War. So with the over the top, over the shoulder gameplay. But there was at a point in time that Resident Evil 4 was getting compared. Um
What was it going to compare to?
like a game called like Cold Fear and stuff. There was like some offbeat survival horror games that played like that was going for that over the shoulder feel that Resident Evil 4 was doing and
Hmm.
stuff.
I
Um
was not aware of that.
Yeah, and then and people were some reviews were comparing to that, but it's kind of like when you look at reviews and you see a Nintendo game gets mentioned, you kind of, I guess because of how popular that franchise or that IP is, a lot of people were just like, okay, I get the reference because I know that game, I know what it's all about, I know the gameplay, I can see the idea that that game is referencing.
Hmm. Um, maybe I just don't see it as much because like I don't really read reviews anymore. Like I
Mhm.
don't. You know, like I might, if I see a review, I might click on it and I might read like the excerpt, but that's about it. You know, like I think I've gotten to a point where I'm like really good at like spying a game myself to know if it's going to be a good or bad game for me, not for not you know a good or bad game in general, but a good or bad game for me. Um, that I just don't read reviews anymore. Also, I don't people. Okay, just like how you're using like everybody's using like Nintendo references for their reviews, like
Yeah.
it's very hard. It's very hard for people to not have biases when they go into reviews. Like I think the review process gets sullied a lot because people do that. Like I mean, What's the last review I wrote? It's been a while. Like I haven't even written a
Metroid
review.
Dread.
Oh yeah, thank you. I was like, because I was about to lie and say I haven't written a review for Boss Rush yet.
Okay.
Okay, so I wrote the review for Metroid Dread, and do you notice I completely focused on Metroid Dread? There was not a single time, and if I did throw comparisons in there, it wasn't even like comparisons of like this game to this. Like when I talked about some of the features that are brought over from Samus Returns, Metroid 2, from
Yeah.
and stuff like that. Yeah, that was a direct reference, and stuff like that, or stuff that carried over from Super Metroid and Metroid Fusion. That was a direct reference, but beyond that, you know, my that Metroid Dread review that I did is not sullied by any type of comparison to another game. Like, I'm I'm in the moment for the game that I'm reviewing. I'm not in the moment for. I'm not half. I'm not. I don't have one foot in and the other foot standing on. Let me see. Metroid Dread. See, I can't even make a comparison. To what if I make a comparison? To Metroid Dread is going to be compared to Super Metroid.
Well, I think it would be more compared. Well, I, see, I think that's the problem, that how to compare to Super Metroid. I think it's because of that remake of Samus Return. And I think it's because um of like the gameplay ideas coming, because like yeah, like how do you compare it? Because unless you're matching Metroid Super Metroid versus Metroid Prime 3, because the reason is that even though the world is connected, it's not like you're shooting a door and now you're into this world. No, you're taking a train to travel to another section, and that's kind of how Metroid 3 was. You had to get in your ship and go to another planet in order to continue the game in progress.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah. So I don't know. I don't want to shit on. I don't want to shit on game reviewers, but I think game reviewers need to be a little more objective and a little more regional of how they approach their reviews of the games and stuff like that. Because if you're telling me that a lot of games, new games in this day and age are being compared to like Nintendo games, like it's like y'all have problems.
well, I think the thing is, I understand why they're comparing it to Nintendo games. It's an easy reference. It helps the reader understand, what they may be getting for this. But I'm
You
like,
know what? You know what? You're a terrible writer, though. If you can't use your own words to
mm.
give someone a picture of what it is that you're trying to say.
But I think what I'm trying to get to is just like, I think I asked Corey, and not to get nobody upset, I was asking Corey, I'm just like, why is it Sony and Microsoft games, which are big sellers that people recognize, why do they don't get compared as much as Nintendo does? You know, why has Nintendo IP been that popular and been that influential to other game makers
Yes, yes.
that Sony's and Microsoft's, is that it?
Nintendo has created a generation of gamers that it left a mark on like at least two generations. The NES left a mark on at least two generations of gamers.
Mm,
And to the point where like it's kind of like how I say, like like things will change. Things will change when the old bastards in Congress die out and stuff like that. Same thing
yeah.
applies when like all the people who are like and I'm one of them. I'm really romantic about Nintendo, even though I'm like one of Nintendo's biggest cynics these days. um like I'm one of them too, like Nintendo, there's certain parts of Nintendo that's put on a pedestal for me, there's other parts that's like you got to get up off the floor. Come on, come on, go ahead. Like it's like, go ahead, girl. Give us nothing. Like that. You know, you know. But yeah, I mean, like I'm a fan of Nintendo. I'm also one of their bigger cynics, and stuff like that too. But Nintendo has an influence on like at least two generations of gamers. Like like if we look at NES to Super NES era, like yeah, like I mean, Nintendo's got their hooks in people and stuff like that. So yeah, like Nintendo is still influential enough that I guess I can see the part where people are just like, oh, Resident Evil 2 remake plays like what's a I can't even think of a Nintendo game that it would play like, you know what I mean? And you
Um,
see that's
so I
and you see
okay.
that's me
So
because I look at Resident Evil 2 and 3 remake, and I'm like, man, this is almost Uncharted slash Tomb Raider,
so
you know?
the thing with Resident Evil 2, not the remake, but the original one, I it's kind of like you see Resident Evil 2 and then you see Eternal Darkness. And it's just like,
Now
oh
I see
wow.
that's you because
But
I played Eternal Darkness and I didn't see that.
But I think it was the way that the control was, how it was kind of like you had to hold a button to make your attack stance, and then you had to like kind of move the analog to shoot at different places and everything. It wasn't as free roaming as what I'm saying. But
Mm,
with Eternal Darkness, you kind of had that same gameplay, but the sanity effects enhance the survival horror uh aesthetic to it in a sense that Resident Evil hasn't done yet. Like if Nintendo was allowed to let Capcom play around with sanity effects, that that series would really change.
mm.
That series would be different if Nintendo allowed Capcom to do that. Because it's just like you're now wasting ammo on zombies that might not be there. You know, you might actually go into a room and hallucinate, and it might be like, what the heck, how did my why is my game looking like a Street Fighter 2 battleground? Or why did I run into this house and it's ghouls and ghosts or something like do something like Capcom was invented to do something crazy because of some sanity effects. Resident Evil would be a whole completely different game, but it would be an interesting different game.
Yeah, okay. You know what? I can't say anything about that.
uh,
Oh man, okay, okay, that was a good topic. I feel like it's a little out there, but it's not out there. It's not out there, for like the substance of your topic was phenomenal. I'm just still reeling from the fact that like I'm gonna open up a review now, and I'm gonna be paying attention to see like where all the Nintendo references are at. It's kind of
but
crazy.
and I think the reason why I bring, like I said, I bring this up is because of course, seeing Elder Ring and stuff, and just still seeing that Breath of the Wild get compared and mentioned a lot, and it's just like you, Sony and Microsoft has some of the biggest franchise. Why are they not mentioned for other games? Why are their first party games are not mentioned in reviews, mentioned in a lot of discussions? When it's compared to like third party or other first party games and stuff, why is it not mentioned and stuff like The Last of Us Part Two? Who who's comparing that? Like, is it too original or too um
I wouldn't say it's
formulaic or anything?
I wouldn't say it's too original, but I feel like Last of Us Two, like it stands out. It stands out. Like I do remember seeing some comparisons to like Resident Evil and stuff, but I think they were trying to lump it into the same category as all survival horror games.
Mhm.
But maybe it's the fact that like a lot of these games now do something extremely different that it's hard to make comparisons to. Like God of War didn't 2018 God of War didn't get compared to anything. They tried to compare the 2018 Spider-Man game to the previous Spider-Man games, and
Mhm.
that kind of crashed and burned. Uncharted, they they tried trotting out Tomb Raider, like the old school Tomb Raider games, but and then I was like, oh wait, this is something completely different, you know. Um, let me see what other Sony franchises. Ratchet and Clank and Jack and Daxter. I can't remember hearing them getting compared to anything else. Honestly, I wish I had a better pedigree of Xbox, franchise.
Mhm.
I'm pretty sure Halo is getting compared to Call of Duty and Medal of Honor.
Yeah,
You remember Mel Oliver's thing? Remember
yeah.
that?
Oh, let me tell you, Medal of Honor Frontline was my first Medal of Honor game that I got on the GameCube, and that soundtrack is still good. I played all the levels,
Mhm.
um, and I that made me fall into love with the series. And then the other games started coming out, and I was just like, it doesn't do nothing for me. I think that's when I started seeing signs that EA was watering the game down because of too many sequels
Mhm.
and stuff. But like I said, that Medal of Honor reboot I actually enjoyed. I like that reboot on PS3 and 360. Warfighter though was, ooh goodness, if y'all want to hear questionable content, that that game so much questionable content. uh,
Yeah, because let me see, like yeah, like I can't be sure. I want to say Gears of War came out first, and then we had Resistance Fallen Man. And I
mhm.
remember there being comparisons of Resistance to Gears of War, but a lot of it was more like the game moves a lot faster than Gears of War did because like let's just say it what it is. Like those Gears of War games, like everybody runs like they got molasses in their ass.
Yeah, I couldn't. I really could not play the Gears of War series on the 360. I literally had to wait to the Xbox One
Uh,
to play them because of the controller. I'm like,
yeah.
this controller is not good.
Good topic, man. Good topic. I enjoyed it. It was eye opening. I'll put it that way. Man, like our peers in the in the content industry. Come on, y'all gotta do better. Y'all gotta do better. There's a lot of other wells to like go for, you know, than just Nintendo. I'll put it that way. You know, uh but I guess the challenge is like, you know, I think the challenge is, because I said earlier, like if you can't, it's crazy that you can't use your own words to describe, you know, like what it is that you want to convey about a game that you're trying to tell
Mhm.
other people whether to buy it or not. You know what I mean? Um, yeah. Shoot, like I said, like it's interesting.
Well, and yeah, I think that's why when I write my reviews and stuff, they may seem longer. They may, I have to be very detailed with them because if I'm not detailed enough, people are not going to understand, which is the weirdest thing. I don't know how. Uh, but I try to get out. I try to talk about what you're going to get out from this game, from its gameplay, from its setting, definitely with the music. Because you don't want to hear it play a game. You hear some janky music. Trust me, you don't want to do that because
Yeah,
sometimes the music could literally ruin a game.
true. Or sometimes, or sometimes the music can be so bad as it's genius.
Yes, you know. Uh,
Yeah.
but I try to
Ed,
be somewhat thorough with it.
Ed, let me ask you a question.
Yes,
What is your favorite video game system to date?
my favorite video.
Or either your favorite video game system or your favorite era of gaming.
I think my favorite era of game.
This is actually my topic.
Okay,
By the
so
way.
so my favorite era of gaming is definitely the GameCube era.
The GameCube
Um,
era?
yeah, and like I said, I love Switch, I love Wii U, I love Wii, I love the Nintendo stuff. Um, I think the GameCube era is that being able to carry the system and everything, but playing Mario Kart Double Dash with my friends, playing GoldenEye 007, like my friend, we was playing his PlayStation 2 only because of Royal Rumble or SmackDown. We was only
Mm,
playing the wrestling games. But when we were playing multiplayer games, and he had an Xbox, but that was only for Halo. When we was playing a lot of multiplayer games and other stuff, we were literally playing on GameCube. I remember going Friday night after work, going to his house, having a pizza and some drinks, and we were playing literally GameCube to 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning.
mhm.
Playing Tales of Symphonia, um, the
Yeah.
memory cards and stuff, being able to find a lot of games at GameStop or other places that for GameCube, because I'm like, I know if I get the GameCube version it's going to be hard to find, and it
Mhm.
literally was. It's still to this very day. People think that when you buy a Nintendo system, I tell people, if you get a Nintendo system and there's a particular game that you want, go ahead and pay the money, because by the time it gets to where you really want to play and you want to find a copy, they're gonna literally jack the price up. you
For
know
real? Yeah.
but like with GameCube playing Twilight Princess, it was still it was a thing that my mom did for Christmas. That when it came to video games and stuff, before I started buying my own, when it came to video games, she'll find some good deals, or she'll buy me a lot of stuff for Christmas. Zelda was my Christmas game every time it came out until
Mhm.
until I started buying it. Like I got Twilight Princess for my GameCube, and she knew I had it. I had one. She bought it me for Christmas, and I disappeared. Like it's one of I literally was gone playing Tales of Symphonia. Like I rented that game from Blockbuster then until I ended up buying my copy, and it was just like I'm so into this.
Uh,
Playing Super Mario Sunshine, Beautiful Joe, and it was just like
yeah. Oh my
this.
God, Beautiful Joe was a treat.
I was a big supporter of Clover, and
Oh, Clover Studio was one of the best. Oh my God.
I took I have never taken a vacation for a video game, and the only time that I mean, I took a day off and stuff, or sometimes it would happen. The only time I literally took a 5-day vacation was when I bought Okami,
Mhm.
and I reserved. That was my first and only PS2 game that I reserved at GameStop was Okami. and it was the game that I got Okami, and I took a 5-day vacation from my job, and that's all I literally played on the big screen was that game. But like the GameCube era, that man, just all the great games. That controller felt so good, and I know people had the Wavebird and everything, but like even playing Smash Brothers Melee on it and stuff, and uh, I playing Prince of Persia like I mentioned earlier. Um, it's Eternal Darkness, playing a lot of the first party Nintendo stuff, but showing my love also to third party on that system was everything to me.
Uh-huh.
And uh, and that was the time that I wasn't knocking. I wasn't knocking Xbox, and wasn't knocking PlayStation 2, because I believe those systems had games for me that if they weren't on GameCube, I was getting on those other systems. Skies
You're
of Arcade.
you're
Oh, go
you're
ahead.
you're pro Nintendo. Like just like how we have people who like the Xbox is their primary system or the PlayStation is their primary system. Your Nintendo's your primary system.
Yes,
Yeah, nothing can fault you for that. Like,
and I think a lot of people, because I know I mentioned this on the Boss Rush podcast, and I get joked about when I said I'm the Nintendo guy. And I think a lot of people don't realize why when I talk about Sony and I talk about Microsoft in a serious manner, because I'm passionate about those systems too. Like if you be like, well, you all you talk about is Nintendo. If you look at the library of the games that I have for PS2 and Xbox, they match my GameCube. If I had 75 GameCube games, I still have 75 for PlayStation 2 and Xbox, and I continue to do that. Like if I buy a system, I'm investing into that system with
yeah,
their
I would, I,
games.
I would, I would, I would hope so. I mean, like I feel like every gamer, if you're spending money, and let's look at it this way, like consoles are not cheap.
Yes,
Consoles have never been cheap.
yes.
They have never been cheap. Like I remember my mom having a heart attack spending $200 for the Nintendo Entertainment System. I
Ooh,
remember her having that heart attack. I remember that.
oh
Um,
no,
yeah. Like I remember, like like those consoles are not cheap, and if that ain't the kicker, the games aren't cheap either.
right.
When we think about it, stuff like that. So
Ki-
like if you're going to spend money for a console, whether it's $200 for an NES, whether it's $350 for a Nintendo Switch, what OLED is that the going price for those right
Yeah,
now?
yes.
$500 for a PS5 or an Xbox Series X. $600 for a PS3, like the OG PS3. Or
The Neo
or
Geo was
or
that was 600.
yeah, like if you're gonna spend that money, like you need to like double down on your investment. Don't buy the system for one game. Like hell, I bought a Wii just to play Monster Hunter, but I at least got like a decent library of games in the process while I had my system before I was like, okay, it's time to let this go.
Look, that retro console was holiness.
Yes,
I'm
yeah,
not about to lie.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
I could actually say my first system that was outside Nintendo that my mom brought me that I got was a TurboGrafx 16.
Oh man, man.
Yeah, and I was the only kid in my city that had the system, and I never talked to people about it or anything, but I had a history with that console, and and once somehow something happened for it not to work, but it was at the end of the lifespan of that system.
Uh,
My mom, she was getting me games for it. Like stuff was like $20. I had a whole bunk collection besides this shooting like Arizona I didn't have. Um why people still see me talking about um vigilante and games like that.
Vigilante 8. Oh my god.
Yeah.
That damn bus.
Well, Vigilante was the beat 'em up one for NES with Madonna.
Wait, wait, wait.
Vigil,
No, no,
Vigil,
no. I thought Vigilante 8 was the one where it was a mayhem
it
game where you.
it is, but for TurboGrafx, it was a game called Vigilante.
Oh, okay, okay,
It was
okay,
that
okay.
it looked like kung fu, but it was going the other way.
Uh-huh. Okay, okay,
Yeah,
yeah. I'm not
Vigilante.
familiar, but it's because I didn't really. I knew TurboGrafx 16 was a very good console. It was a strong
Yeah,
console, but I never like put any interest in it because I knew
yeah.
I was never gonna get one.
Now Vigilante 8 and that bus literally sold that game.
Yeah,
And it was good for a lot of people. They really enjoyed it.
yeah, yeah. I feel like my favorite era of gaming is probably the Dreamcast era,
Ooh.
closely followed by the PlayStation 2 era. Like, I guess I could say the Dreamcast era, is like an honorable mention because like it didn't have a full lifespan.
Yes.
So but yeah, like man, like a buddy of mine, Howard, like he's a pro Sega person. Like, if it wasn't for him, I probably wouldn't have taken the Dreamcast halfway as seriously as I did, because I was one of those people where, like, I loved my Sega Saturn, but I also knew I got burnt by my Sega Saturn.
Yeah.
And just like I got burnt by like just the whole like Sega Genesis era and all the add-ons and all that stuff. Yeah, because I had every single one of them. I had every single one of them. So Sega CD, 32X, Sega CDX.
I
I had all that stuff.
I'm so jealous that you had the Sega CD. My brother, he had the OG Genesis, and he didn't have the Sega CD because
Man,
still to this very day always wanted to play Snatcher on Sega CD.
superior. Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. Superior freaking versions of games were on the Sega CD. Like the superior version of Eternal Champions was on the Sega CD.
Yep.
The superior version of Pitfall: The Mayan Adventure was on Sega CD.
For people who don't know, Peter Pan was developed and published by Sony, and it had the movie soundtrack on the Sega CD.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. Like, oh man, like Sega CD. In my opinion, Sega CD was one of my favorite systems. Like definitely like like I get romantic about like Lunar Silver Star Story,
Yes.
Sonic CD,
Don't like
freaking
Sonic CD.
you. You know what? You know what? I'm not gonna say anything bad about you tonight.
Hold on. And I think because when I finally got to play, I was excited to play Sonic CD. When
Uh,
I got to play, that time mechanic was throwing me off.
oh, I loved it.
I guess I couldn't grasp it
I
because
loved it, and I was a mega completionist. Like I made sure by the time I got to stage 3, that I had done everything in the past and the future.
and you know what? I didn't think I because when Sonic CD came and got talked about, everybody mentioned the music. I agree. The music for Sonic CD is good. Still Sonic the Hedgehog 2 soundtrack is better. Um but no one talked about the gameplay and the time mechanic. And I think it was just something different for me when I actually because I played it like at a retro game show. And I guess it's because I wasn't in that period or no, not period. I think I wasn't in that area with the Sega CD because I
Hmm.
was in the era of playing the Sega Genesis, but and those Sonic games, and
uh,
not the CD stuff because we didn't have
and
it.
man, when I think of so many bangers for freaking the Dreamcast, though, like Soul Calibur, Jet Set Radio, Skies
Yes.
of Arcadia,
Oh
Shenmue,
yes.
Marvel
Yes.
vs.
Well,
Capcom 2, Marvel vs. Capcom 2,
not
Code
top
Veronica,
tier.
Fancy Star Online, fucking Crazy Taxi, Power Stone, both Power
Power
Stone games
Stones.
up.
Power Stones is
Yeah,
top tier.
both. both Power Stone games. Street Fighter 3 Third Strike.
Okay,
God.
Choo 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 Rocket was the bomb. I didn't get to
Choo
play
Choo Rocket.
Choo Choo Rocket was the bomb as a demo. I did have fun with that game. I really wanted to play Space Shuttle 5.
Oh,
It did.
God! You never played Space Shuttle. You
I
never played
never.
when it got to play PS2.
No.
Oh no, you missed out. God, how
What?
about Project Justice, the sequel to Rival High Schools? Well,
No.
Rival Schools. My bad.
No.
My bad. Oh
So I
man,
so I got to play Rival Schools. Rival Schools I played on PS1.
Capcom
Um,
versus SNK.
Capcom versus
Freaking.
SNK I played in arcade. It's one of those things that not everybody was carrying. Like GameStop or Target and a lot of places weren't carrying the games that was hot on Dreamcast. Because I got my Dreamcast after my brother got his. And I was DJing at my high school and got $250. Went to my mall, and that I think the Dreamcast was now under like 140 some dollars or 150
Mm.
some dollars at the time, and I had just got it. My Dreamcast, and since my brother wasn't playing his games, I was like playing Sonic CD stuff. But I started buying games for it. When it came to reading about like stuff like Res and Space Shuttle 5 and all of this stuff and the stuff that was on Dreamcast, I hit 5 different cities looking for those games and could not find them anywhere. I really wanted
Yeah.
to play them. I really
Yeah,
did.
it's funny that Dreamcast games like games with Dreamcast like started getting scarce. Like I think honestly like when the games started getting scarce, that's when people started realizing something's up.
Yeah. Yeah, and I was going to like a used music store that was in our mall, and they didn't even have. They had like some Dreamcast games, but they was
Mhm.
all like the sports stuff, and I'm like, I already got this. Like
There's
I
so
could
many
have,
there's so many freaking sports games out there.
yeah. Like and I think that's why people just like, well, Dreamcast come to Switch and all of this. Whatever Sega wants to do with the Dreamcast, I am down for it. I would love to play those games that I miss on that console.
Where the hell is this Dreamcast Mini at that they were talking about? Okay, all right. All right. So the GameCube is your favorite era of gaming. So
Yeah,
I'm gonna throw some games at you, and you tell me if they're hit or miss. Okay. And I'm gonna start with a hard one out the gate. Eternal Darkness, Sandy's Requiem.
hit
Okay. WarioWare Inc. Mega Party Games. That one.
a miss,
Wait. Luigi's Mansion.
a hit,
Okay. Killer 7.
a hit,
Wow. Okay. Resident Evil Remake.
a hit.
Ooh, okay.
But because
Metal Gear Solid The Twin Snakes.
a hit. And I'm gonna hold on. So before you go on Resident Evil, the remake stuff, the way that it got ported, it really changed the game. It really showcased what a remake could do, and it's scary as ever. It looks beautiful.
Yeah.
Metal Gear Solid Twin Snakes, like, and everybody could go read the history between that and everything. It literally changed the Metal Gear series. Like, you wouldn't have some of the gameplay ideas that's in Metal Gear 2 and 3 if it wasn't for Twin
No,
Snakes.
hold on. Wait a second. Wait a second. Metal Gear Solid Twin Snakes copied the mechanics of Metal Gear Solid 2.
No, Metal Gear Solid 2 wasn't out yet when Twin Snakes was out.
Yeah, it was.
No,
Yeah, it
it's
was.
not. No, it's
I'm
no, it
telling
wasn't.
you. I'm telling you. I'm telling you.
Metal
Do I
Gear.
need to go? Do I need to go to? Do I need to
No,
go to
because
Twitter?
Metal Gear Solid 2 didn't have the first person view and doing all of that stuff. When
All right. So Metal Gear Solid Twin Snakes came out in 2004. Metal Gear Solid 2: Sons of Liberty came out
because when
in.
was 9/11? Because they
Oh, you
did.
know what? Okay, you know what? You might be right. 2001. Yeah, well, no, I was right. They copied Metal Gear Solid Twin Snakes copied mechanics
But it,
from like dog tags, hiding people and stuffing people in lockers and stuff, things like that. Yeah, like
but
yeah,
you
like
was able
all.
no, because but the hiding people and locker stuff you was able to do in the first Metal Gear. In
I
the
don't
first
remember.
one,
I don't remember. I don't remember that.
on the PS1, you was able to hide them in the first because they would look and try to find. You was able to hide them in Metal Gear in the
Wait,
first one.
hiding what? Hiding the enemies in lockers? I know you can hide in lockers.
The enemies, I think you were able to hide in lockers, or you was able to do something with them because you had to push their body so nobody would find it in Metal Gear Solid. That's why. That's why. Because when Metal Gear Solid 2 came, when Sons of Liberty came out, it didn't have the stuff that Metal Gear Solid Twin Snakes did because they had redid all.
Dude, you've got something wrong here because Metal Gear Solid 2 came out in 2001. Twin Snakes came out in '04. You've got something you've got them mixed up. You've got them mixed up because Metal Gear Solid Twin Snakes is a remake of the first Metal Gear Solid.
Right,
You've got them mixed
but they
up.
did, but it didn't have first person view.
You know what? Okay, I want to leave this to the audience. Audience, if Ed is wrong, just sound off.
So
Just hit us up on Boss Rush Network, Twitter or whatnot. Just sound off on this one because
so
I'm sitting here like looking at it. I'm like
no, did,
2001.
but did Metal Gear Solid 2 have first person view? I don't remember it having first person view.
When the HD collection came out, it did.
Right, Twin Snakes. When Twin Snakes came out, Twin Snakes had the first person view. The HD collection wasn't out yet.
Right? Yeah.
So right, so when they changed to that first person view and was doing all that different stuff in Metal Gear Solid Twin
Yeah.
Snakes,
The HD collection came out 7 years after like Twin
Twin
Snakes.
Snakes, right? So when Twin Snakes came out, I think that's why I said when Metal Gear Solid Twin Snakes came out, it changed the series because Metal Gear Solid 2
No, Metal Gear
outside
Solid. No. Metal Gear Solid changed the series. If we're gonna be honest here,
well, I should say future Metal Gear Solid games. Twin Snakes did because they
actually, every Metal Gear game, every Metal Gear sequel, like changed the game
because
somehow. Like
because Metal Gear Solid 3
because
had first person.
Metal Gear Solid 3 had a first person mode. You did not want to play in it.
Right.
Yeah, but Metal Gear Solid 3 was quote unquote open world. Metal Gear Solid 4 was shit. What was a every every Metal Gear Solid game
Yeah.
did something to change the trajectory of the series, including Twin Snakes, which was basically a remake.
Right. Because I know Twin Snakes was a remake of the first one, but it's just there's something about Twin Snakes that became like a blueprint for the future games. And it was because when 2 came out, yes, everybody loves 2, the story and everything. I think when it comes to the blueprint of the Metal Gear franchise, like evolving, I think it started with Twin Snakes because a lot of people keep talking about that game and how it kind of pushed the.
I don't. You
It's
know what? You know what? You're way too pro Nintendo. That's the problem
no,
here.
no. I'm
Because
just
yeah, I'm saying because the fact that you put Twin Snakes, in the timeline ahead of Metal Gear Solid 2 is oh uh,
I think I
my
think
my
it,
brain my brain's about to bleed.
so. I think it was just okay because I know people didn't like Raiden. I know people enjoy Metal Gear Solid 2, but I think when Twin Snakes came out, it created a different discussion, and I just feel like the blueprint from that game was what Kojima used for the rest of the games and just enhanced it. Just was adding more and more because
Mm.
because I don't know how do you talk about Metal Gear as a series without talking about Twin Snakes.
Well, it's easy because most people never had a chance to play it, so most people won't talk about it. let's let's be serious. Let's be serious. There is a very just like how I had no desire to buy a Nintendo 64.
Hmm.
There's an entire section of gamers that did not go out of their way to buy GameCube.
Yeah,
Yeah, like and like even when like some of these games came out that were like these are must haves. Like I mean, I know a lot of people broke down about a GameCube when Resident Evil 4 came out. I know a lot of people broke down. A lot of people had to struggle with themselves when Twin Snakes came out. Stuff like that.
I, I
Um,
kind I kind of want to do a feature that going to that era, how many first party games from this particular company or this company got game of the year, and then how many came from third party. Because I have a feeling that yes, I think Sony has a lot of them during PlayStation 4. Microsoft may have some, but I gotta go research it. I know Nintendo has a lot
Mhm.
because still, and we're gonna get back to your questions. Still to this very day, I'm shocked that the 3DS Link Between Worlds took game of the year when it came out. Like a 3DS, like I think Nintendo may be the only console and uh handheld company that there has been a game of the year on each console. And I don't think
It's
Sony
I can't really argue with that because I don't know.
or each platform that they release besides the Retro Boy, that got discontinued. So,
Uh huh.
but go ahead, you can ask LeRon. I'm sorry, I know everybody's probably entertained. There go Eddie and LeRon arguing again. Like, no, we're just trying to clear some things up. But
Yeah, well, I'm trying to clear some things up because, bro, you saying
uh,
26 came out before freaking Sons of Liberty? I'm like,
because
ooh.
because I remember that game got delayed because of 9/11, and I thought it got delayed a year, and I thought Twin Snakes
9/11,
came
9/11 happened in 2001,
nine
and the
eleven
game
happened.
the game came out in 2001. It didn't come out on time, but because they pulled out they had to go back and pull out the stuff that had the Twin Towers
Right,
just depicted in it.
right, and I think that's why I thought they delayed it, and I thought Twin
They didn't
Snakes had
delay it
came
that
out.
bad.
I thought
If they, yo, a delay that big would have hurt would have hurt the overall.
because how quick were they able to take that part out and edit that game and stuff?
Let's see, Metal Gear Solid, Sons of Liberty. Let's find out. Delay. I should put delay in there.
Because I know I think it was the intro part that they had to change. That's why I'm just trying to wonder, like, was it a month after 9/11 happened?
I don't think it was that soon. Hold on, I'm looking. Things analysis, development. Uh, plot changes. I'm on Wikipedia. I know sometimes Wikipedia ain't the best for that. Legacies. I don't see anything that says anything about the delay. I don't know. I'm sorry. I don't want to put a whole bunch of blank air in the dead air in the show. I'm just trying to find out. Recent reports chronicled an untrue delay. Okay, that's recent online reports have chronicled an untrue delay in Konami's upcoming game. Wait, how old is this article? That's from 2012.
Hmm.
Uh, Metal Gear Solid 2 Sons of Liberty. The word was MGS2 was delayed until 2002. However, IGN PS2 confirmed with Konami of America today that it was still on track for 2001 for a late '01 ship date, and that any rumors contrary to fact were false. Konami representatives explained the staff currently hard at work completing the game. She added it would receive simultaneous. Okay, I know for sure, like because like when the tanker was in New York, like when the tanker was in New York, and then when the big shell crashes into Manhattan and stuff,
Yeah.
I know they had made some changes to make sure that the World Trade Center wasn't there.
Okay. Yeah. And
Yeah,
I
yeah.
remember
I can't find where it's at, but I know for sure.
because I remember of reading an EGM, and I still have my Metal Gear Solid 2. I enjoyed that game. I still need to try to beat it. I think I sit down with it and play it and stuff. Um,
Mhm.
but
Okay,
but
back back
I'm
to
sorry. I'm sorry,
back,
LeRon.
back to Ed's hits and misses now. Beautiful Joe.
Hit. Top tier
Paper
hit.
Mario: The Thousand Year Door.
Hit.
All right, get ready. Fire Emblem: Path of Radiance.
Miss.
I like the way you think.
It was
Do I even need to mention Double Dash? Do I need to mention that?
hit. That's a hit.
Mario Sunshine,
Hit.
Animal Crossing.
You know what? Hit. It was something new. It was their first IP in years,
Yep.
and
Okay.
I remember getting that game, enjoying it because it came with a free memory card with it.
Okay. Twilight Princess.
Hit.
Smash Bros. Melee.
Hit.
And I have two more for you. So I'm gonna give you these two games, and you gotta tell me which one beats the other one.
Okay. All right.
Your first choice is Legend of Zelda: The Wind Waker or Metroid Prime. Which one? Which one wins the SmackDown?
You are so deep.
Which one gets all?
You
Which
are
one
so
gets all the
you are
Yoshi
so
coins?
you are so devious. It's Metroid Prime.
Yeah.
And it's not just because you're a Metroid fan. I played the demo at Sam Goody, walked 5 steps, and paid the whole game off. And when I sat down, I bought food. I sat down on a Friday to get because the game came out on a Friday. I sat down and I played that whole game for almost 2.5 weeks, and
Mm.
I got to experience something. And I love Wind Waker. Don't get me wrong, I love that game. But Metroid Prime,
Oh,
just
by the way, I'm gonna give you and Pow Block some free content. The 20th anniversary of Metroid Prime is this year, November the 19th. You're welcome.
uh,
You're welcome.
so in other words, you're coming on Power Block so we can discuss it.
Oh, okay, okay.
LeRon, you have to come on because Prime. Let me tell you, because when I found you was a Metroid fan, and I was just like, yes, I love that. My son of Metroid. With Metroid Prime, people just don't know how that game changed the Metroid series for me,
Uh,
and how scanny the boss battles explain showing the world, hearing the music, seeing the water effects on her on Samus helmet.
on the visor, yeah.
Yes, going into battles, I went everywhere studying that game, and it was just I sat back in the maze. It's the Xenoblade Chronicles X thing on how is this beautiful world happening in like Nintendo and retro. How did you make this beautiful world? How it felt like it was nothing that I've never played, and nothing throughout the years had topped it. I could talk about Wind Waker all year long. I could talk about Tales of Symphonia, Mario Sunshine, Mario. I could talk all about that. Having a deep conversation about Metroid Prime for ages, it really revolutionized like first person shooters for me. It really made it hard for me to like really get into it, and I enjoyed it. But I haven't felt anything from a first person shooter until Titanfall 2.
All right. Well, there you have it. I mean, I'm totally in agreement with you though. Like Metroid Prime definitely, and it's not saying anything bad against Zelda: The Wind Waker
Yeah.
because like you guys heard earlier, like I came around on that game, but I came around the game when it was still current. I didn't come around on it, like after it got re-released on what, the Wii, right? Yeah,
For what?
yeah, the Wind Waker HD was the Wii, right?
No, Wind Waker HD was on Wii U.
No,
Yeah,
can't be.
yeah. Skyward Sword was Wii. Twilight
Okay,
Princess was on Wii because when GameCube was coming to the close with Twilight Princess, it also got the Wii version. And so when they did the HD Wind Waker, it was on Wii U.
okay, all right, all right.
Oh,
Well,
surprised you didn't ask me for PlayStation 2 in those games. Yeah.
well, I thought you would have asked me.
Oh, for
But then again, I kind of threw it at you. My bad. Do you have some Do you have some PS2 games you want to throw at me real quickly?
Actually, yes.
Okay.
So, um, Final Fantasy 10.
Final Fantasy 10,
Yes. Hold on. Fight. Final Fantasy 10 versus Final Fantasy 12.
Final Fantasy 10.
Okay.
Final Fantasy 12 hurt my soul because Final Fantasy 12 takes place in the same realm as my favorite Final Fantasy game of all time, which is Tactics. And I just did not see any correlation from Tactics and 12 at all. I did not. And also they brought in the judges. Like, what? Are you insane? Like the one thing people hated about Tactics Advance, and you bring that to the mainstream Final Fantasy game? How dare you?
Mm.
So 10.
All
So
right.
10 is the hit. 10 wins the fight.
Uh,
That being said, though, I did finally give Final Fantasy 12 a chance. I got the HD version of it on Switch.
yes.
And
Yes.
again, like I walked into Best Buy. I walked into Best Buy and they had the HD versions of 10 and 10-2 and Final Fantasy 12, on sale. I spent $50 and got 3 games.
Oh,
Because they
nice.
were both $25 a piece. I was like,
Yeah. Yeah.
I couldn't pass it up.
Okay. So, Zone of the Enders.
Hit.
Um, what was From Software's mech game?
Armored
Armor
Core.
Core.
Armored Core. You know, the original Armored Core, I'm going to say a miss, but Armored Core 2 was a hit.
Okay. Beautiful Joe 2. Oh no, Beautiful Joe with Dante.
That was a miss. That was a miss.
Really?
I feel like they lost the magic.
When they added Dante on it?
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
that was a miss.
Dragon Quest 8.
Was that the first one for PS2? That was the first Dragon Quest game to make PS2, right?
Yeah, because Dragon Quest 7 was on PS1 and nobody didn't like that one.
Let's come back to that one.
Okay. Devil May Cry.
Hit.
God of War.
Devil May Cry 2, trash.
God of War.
God of War, hit.
Um uh goodness. Uh dang it, I wish I had my PS2 games with me. The Suffering.
Ugh. I'll be honest with you. I'm gonna say miss. I wasn't really a fan. I wasn't. Like I gotta say, by the time we got to the PS2 era, I was starting to lose my love with survival horror games.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so like I was starting to really scrutinize survival horror games. So yeah, like I feel like the formula. As a matter of fact, I know I stopped playing a lot. I know PS2 era is when I stopped playing. When I stopped taking survival horror games seriously, and I didn't play a survival horror game until Dead Space came out on PS3.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Soul Calibur 2 with Hihachi.
Okay. I love the Soul Calibur series. I do. But that whole gimmick that Namco did with putting like exclusive characters on like certain systems, I
Yeah.
was not a fan of that. So like I did not get Soul Calibur 2.
Oh really?
Yeah, I did not get it.
Okay.
I do appreciate the fact that Heihachi was beating everybody's ass with just his bare hands, where everybody else had swords and staffs and stuff and axes.
Was the bouncer on PS3 or PS2?
The bouncer was a PS2. The bouncer was was one of the PS2. It wasn't a launch title, but it was an early title for PS2.
Okay.
The bouncer, trash. They miss. I'm sorry, miss.
Let's see. Wild Arms 5?
No, okay. I thought I told you my history of Wild Arms. I know I did.
No.
The original Wild Arms game for PS1 had some of the worst quality assurance ever. I was in the final dungeon of I was getting ready to beat the game.
Yeah.
And there's a room puzzle in the game where if you bork the puzzle, you have to start the game over. Because I was a dumbass, and this is also the game that also instituted I have a two save rule per every game I play now. When it comes to RPGs, because I overwritten my most recent save, and everyone's like, "No, you just couldn't solve the puzzle." I was like, "No, I solved the puzzle because I went and got a strategy guide. I could not go back, and I couldn't go back, and there was no way in hell I was going to spend another 30+ hours playing that game to get back to where I was." I'm exaggerating about 30+ hours. It may have been 30 hours, but I don't know. But yeah, so that is the one and only Wild Arms game I played. And the sad part is Wild Arms was such a good game. So yeah, so I have not played another Wild Arms game since. So it's an automatic miss for me.
Okay. Onimusha.
Hit.
Onimusha 2.
I'm gonna say hit. I know that one had some issues, and 3 redeemed it.
Yes. Luminous.
Oh wait, Luminous was actually PSP.
Luminous Plus was on PS2.
Oh, so I didn't play Luminous Plus on PS2. Like PSP though, it was a hit. So I guess I could say by default. Actually, you know what? A lot of Luminous games didn't keep the same magic at that as the original Luminous did. It's kind of because like the second Luminous had like licensed music, and that pulled me right out of it. Playing, and all of a sudden Gwen Stefani is doing Hollaback Girl. I was like,
No, what was the Star Wars games for Kinect that had
Dance Central?
oh goodness.
Yeah.
Oh goodness.
You got any more for me?
Was there a Monster Hunter game on PS2?
The original Monster Hunter game. Okay, the original Monster Hunter game, the hardest Monster Hunter game in the world, is a hit. But I also understand why nobody liked it. It was hard. It was hard. I played that game to death. Like that game. If I still have my original Monster Hunter game, I will find it and I will send you a picture of it. I still have my original Monster Hunter case and everything. I still have it.
Which I have to ask you something after the show.
Okay.
Which I think you'll probably well receive and enjoy. What was I thinking of? Goodness, I just lost it. I cannot think of it. Killzone. That's what it was. Killzone 1.
This is a hard one. Like, I played it. I'm not the best at first person shooters, so I didn't play it long. Killzone. Actually, I'm gonna say a hit because this is back when Sony had a little bit. Sony had like this oomph when they made bad guy designs. Like designs for bad guys and stuff. Like there was something magical about it, man. Like the Hellgas. You know who the fuck the Hellgas were just by looking at them. Even if you've never played the game, like if you just know something about the game and you see a Hellgas, you knew what it was. Just like Resistance Fall of Man had like the most iconic. The Chimera is one of the most iconic video game villains ever.
Really?
At least for PlayStation. At least for PlayStation.
Okay.
Yeah.
Man,
yeah.
I think that's
come on, the creature design for the Chimera. Oh my god.
Well, yeah, but dude, Insomniac is so good with their weapon design and creativity
that
it like I don't think about their enemies. I just because man, Resistance 3 is like a classic. Mm-hmm. It is still an all-time classic. I love Resistance 3. I'm sorry, everybody. Yep. So I think this is gonna be like my last one. And
is it a battle or is it just a game you're throwing out there?
It is a battle.
Okay.
Jak and Daxter versus Ratchet and Clank.
Jak and Daxter, hands down. Jak and Daxter, and that's saying something because Ratchet and Clank is the longest running series out of those two.
But who do you think had the best debut though?
Jak and Daxter. And I love sci-fi games. I love Ratchet and Clank. I do, but I just latched on to Jak and Daxter so hard, like because honestly, here's what it was. Jak and Daxter was the first Naughty Dog game that wasn't Crash Bandicoot.
Okay.
Yeah. So Jak and Daxter, but yeah, that doesn't mean I didn't have the Ratchet and Clank trilogy. Okay. That doesn't mean that. That doesn't mean I didn't.
Okay, so
which is crazy because like the Ratchet and Clank games still stand up to this day. Like you can pick up any of the old Ratchet and Clank games, and it still feels like it's Ratchet. It's funny how Ratchet and Clank has changed, but it still feels the same. It's
Yeah,
crazy. It's
I
crazy.
I really want to play the new one on PS5. I really
Yep.
wish they did a PS4 version because I'm just like, okay. So two last questions: what is the one hidden gem on PlayStation, and what is the absolute garbage? It's way past question of content. It's like
Are we talking
absolute
about PS2 or
PS2
just okay?
or that or any game you feel like in that era.
A hidden gem.
I already got my hidden gem. Like this is just undeniable.
A hidden gem. A hidden gem on PS2. If I have to throw one out here, and it's crazy because it's a JRPG, and people know I am not. People know how I am about JRPGs. Rogue Galaxy.
Marry me so much. Love, dude. I've been a big fan of Level 5. I've always been. I have Rogue Galaxy still. I brought it on. It's I think it's on my PS4. Like I love the crafting thing is okay, but I love that game. I love Rogue Galaxy.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Now the sad part is like I have to go to a list to see like what may have been like the worst game on PS2. So I'm going through a list right now, and the first one to jump out at me is the first one is the one I'm gonna throw. That Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon game. Ooh, 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 yeah, yeah. I remember trying to play that. I remember trying to play that. Like, oh no. And you know what? It's bad too because like like we know how licensed games are. They're never good. They're
Yeah.
never good. So what was I thinking that Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon was gonna be something,
Oh wow. But I know for me, my hidden gem on GameCube was Ikaruga.
which wasn't even an original GameCube title. It was a
I
Dreamcast title.
and the thing about it is I've never seen it on Dreamcast in America.
I imported it.
Oh, you
I s-
did?
I spent the $80 on Play Asia for that game.
I didn't know that Atari published it and it was a treasure game because I'm like,
You know it's treasure.
no, I didn't no because like Radiant Silver Gun was on Saturn, but I'd never seen it and I was a big fan of Treasure because of
Treasure are people who left Konami that used to work
yes.
on Gradius.
Yes, because they're the one that made the Alien game that's on the Sega Genesis on Switch. That it's the not Alien Hominid, that was someone else. Um their game just came on Switch for Expansion Pass on the Sega Genesis.
Okay.
Because they have right now they have Gunstar Hero in that game.
Wait. Gunstar Heroes. Y'all didn't tell me Gunstar Heroes on Switch. You're dead to me.
Wow. They showed it in the trailer when they was announcing it. When they did the Sega Genesis games, Gunstar Heroes was in it.
I don't recall.
Yes.
I don't recall. Maybe you're not dead to me, but I'm gonna act like you're still dead to me.
Come on, LeRon. If you get it, just be like, Ed, let's two player this because I want to play this game with two player. I love Gunstar Heroes. My absolute garbage game. Oh goodness, and I'm sorry, everybody. It's not on the GameCube, but it is on the PlayStation 2. Grand Theft Auto Vice City. That's flying the airplane ruined the whole Vice City experience for me. I did not want to
uh-huh.
play that game after I tried, and it's part of a mission that you have to do. I was just like, this is hot garbage with molded cheese on top. I'm sorry, everybody. I know
I know your history.
I just don't like that control was like, and I was kind of enjoying Vice City, but that control I was just like, oh no, this is all kinds of wrong. Like Pilot Wings is better than this. Top Gun on the NES by Konami might have been unplayable, but it's got better flying. So, but yeah, it's back in your hands, Laurent.
You know what? I'm sitting up here trying to get freaking Gunstar Heroes on my freaking. Let me go ahead and close this show. I want to go ahead. I want to go ahead and thank everybody for tuning in tonight to the Boss Rush podcast. Yeah, this was fun. This was fun. This was
It
fun.
was.
Before we head out, please let everybody know where they can find you at.
You guys can find me on Twitter at that Retro Code. You can check Nintendo Pow Block live on Mondays and the recorded shows on Wednesdays at Boss Rush Network, bossrush.net, and on our YouTube page for Boss Rush Network. You can also catch Optional Opinion on SoundCloud. I will be bringing out new episodes with that. Sorry, everybody. I just literally been busy. But the next episode is going to be dealing with multi-platform sales versus single console sales. Is it fair or unfair? And it's going to be a really good discussion. Hope you guys will check it out. And then the one after that is talking about house music in games. So that's going to be a good one.
So basically, we're gonna hit some Streets of Rage. What else? Why is Streets of Rage the first one that jumped out at me?
Rod, you already know. I'm just like, send me that Tekken soundtrack because I need to know which tracks that take the shoot. Okay, so side note, everybody. I found this new song called Teardrops by the Wow. Never heard of the group. So when I sent it to you, LeRon, you're just like, oh man, I remember this. I'm like, where did you hear this? I've never heard that track until I heard it on YouTube, and I literally been begging it. Like I love
Good track, right?
it's so good. I've been choreographing it in my head to that song. Like really like outfits, positions. I literally haven't even started the dance move because that's one of my kind of weight loss plans is actually choreographing and dancing and stuff. And I heard that and it's just like, man, I want to get back into dancing, stretching out, and doing a routine to that song. It is so good. I didn't know. I would like. And then there's a song called "Love Me Again" by Ray featuring Just Glenn. That got like this Redford Red remix that's just banging. Like this is some Chicago house track. Now we won't be doing the Jersey mix of the slap for the Oscars. We won't be doing that. But yeah, everybody. It's called Down Down Get Down, which is based off a house track by Paul Johnson, and it's talking about house music in games. We're going to be going through Streets of Rage, talking about Mizuguchi, and how he put his influence with some of the games, and then why Chess Shapes and Beats is one of the best modern games with house music in it.
That game you were talking about was Alien Soldier.
Yes, that's it. That's the
Yeah,
one.
because I just put the Sega collection on. I'm such a terrible person.
No, you're
All
great.
right.
You're awesome.
All right, as for me, you can catch me on social media at Exodus803. That's also my Twitch and YouTube channels, and also that is also my gamer tag for PlayStation Network as well as Steam. Definitely hit me up Tuesday nights on my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/Exodus803 for Crossroads PlayStation. Oh, it's no longer Crossroads PlayStation Podcast. Whoops! I've been saying it for so long now, but episode 75 kicked off the official Crossroads podcast because now we don't just talk about PlayStation, we also talk about PC and Xbox as well. It's still mainly a PlayStation show.
Can I say I told Austin I was just like when I was plugging it, I'll call it Crossroads, the next gen podcast.
Oh, the next gen podcast. That actually sounds pretty cool. They have to work that in somehow. Yeah. And also don't forget I am also the lead host for Boss Rush After Dark, the alternative podcast show for the Boss Rush Network, where we talk about everything that's not considered content appropriate for our flagship shows. So just stay on it right there. Don't forget about our Patreon, Boss Rush Network Patreon, where you can get a lot of content earlier than everybody else. Yes, so there's that. Pay attention to that, please. Don't
Yes.
forget, hit us up over on Discord. Join our Bossverse Network Discord, and have more fun with us while you're there and things like that.
Uh,
This has been what?
Oh, also, everybody, I am host of Nintendo Expansion Pass. You guys could get that a week early if you also join us on Patreon. Me and
Yep.
Corey and guests, we talk all things. We don't cover Nintendo Pow Block, but that's all things Nintendo related. We recently just dropped the Turtles and Tetris discussion, so you can go check that out. But we got some great content that's really coming, so check that out.
Nice. This has been episode 127 of the Bossverse Podcast. We thank you for joining us here tonight, or listening to us on the podcast feeds. We will definitely be back for a new episode. Don't worry. Corey and Stephanie will be back next time you hear us. You have a good night. We love you. Play games. Be better. Be safe. Don't slap the shit out of somebody.
Bye, everybody. Woohoo!
Good night, y'all.